Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Truth Moment. I had this great mitzvah, really an amazing story in its own right. Somebody was kind of stuck an hour and a half away and really had a very, very important meeting set up. And you couldn't leave somebody stuck at the side of the road. Their car broke down. So I went and I picked them up. Sorry, it was like an hour and a half each way. And I really feel like God blessed me because someone once asked me, "What do you do?" So I said, "I think." And so thank God I'm quite aware of my thoughts. And I really had a lot of, if I can call it downloads or clarity of many, many subjects along this little journey. So I wanted to share one or two with you now. The first is very, very simple and fundamental. And maybe I'm embarrassed to say it, but evil is real. There's real evil within us. And it's very important to understand that because evil never presents itself. And I'll give you another example that's easier for us to understand, which is equally as important, and that is fear. Fear is real. And the way things work in the human mind is that something begins as a desire. And then by the time it comes to the mind, it's already justified. It already kind of makes sense to you. And now you need to act in a certain way. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Maybe I was a little fearful, but I lived in South Africa. And so over there, the cops are dressed in brown. And they have this insane idea of jumping out in the middle of the road to stop you, to pull you over. They don't like wave you down. They literally jump out like you're either going to hit the guy or you're going to pull over. So I see this guy dressed in brown that jumps out in the middle of the road. And I just swerve around him. And then I realized, I don't know, maybe a day or two later, that, oh my gosh, that was actually a cop. And for a year, I used to take a different route to my school because I thought, oh man, he's going to realize I escaped and he's going to pull me over for that. Now, if I had to redo that today, I don't think I would have that level of fear. But the reason I'm bringing that out is that fear caused a behavior. In fact, just something else, which now I realize is foolish, but again, just want to bring it out, is I didn't know I got a car, which this car was a manual car. And so it would rev. For some reason in my head was that it wasn't meant to rev above like 1 or 2 or something like that. And so if I would go on the highway, I'd have to rev up more. So I thought it was dangerous to take it on that. So for a year, I was taking Greyhound buses, even though I had a car, because I thought that revving is not good for the engine. So you see how an idea, a fear-based idea, is a reality to us. And many, many of us contain perhaps anger, we contain fear, resentment, which is kind of a form of anger. And unless we can get over these things, they make up who we are. And I'm going to give you a very good example, if I may say so myself, of how this works. Imagine a soup. Our heart is like a soup, a bowl of water. Now, in the beginning, there's flavorless water. But then you add, let's call it a pea. This is a little bit of pea flavor. Then you add a carrot. It's a carrot flavor. Then you add an onion. Let's say you add some sugar. Now you got a sugar flavor, some salt. The point is that your heart is made up of all of your emotions. As long as there is an emotion sitting in your heart, therefore you have a certain attitude based on the collection of your emotions. And I'm going to say something which is really, really important, and that is that many people in life are sad. Why are we sad? We're sad because we experienced a loss. Maybe it was a loss of ego, somebody shamed us, we felt it was unjustified. Maybe it was a genuine loss. You lost someone or something you loved. But listen carefully to what I'm saying to you. You're not actually feeling sad about what happened. What happened is making you feel sad now. Again, you are not feeling sad about what happened. The experience, let's call it the experience, was a carrot. A carrot came into the soup. And now you have that carrot with you for the rest of your life. Unless you cannot take the carrot out of the soup. It's going to always be there. But what you can do is add another flavor. And that's why the Baal Shem Tov says the antidote to anger, which a lot of people really affects them for the rest of their life, is joy and love. So if you say to me, Rabbi, my mother, what she did to me was so unfair, da 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 da. The antidote to that is be happy, love someone. Because when you add that ingredient, you add the ingredient of joy and love into anger, the anger goes down and the joy and love becomes your current emotion. Because remember, you can only feel what you're feeling now. Whatever you're feeling, you're currently feeling at this very moment. And in life, one of the things that I think we often fear most is criticism. And we have to overcome that. And we have to be a person that doesn't live from fear. There was a German, I think it was a pastor, I think he was killed in the Holocaust actually. He's a good man. And he had come to America before the war. He was very anti the Germans. And he said Americans have something unique in them. And one of the unique things that Americans have, because they're brought up in a way of everyone has the freedom to be themselves, one of the ideals of America. So therefore, they don't walk around with this fear. People get on TV shows in America and they'll say things that people would never say to their therapists in Europe, open to the whole public. Why? Because they're not afraid of being criticized. They're not afraid of being judged. So the point is that we mustn't fear other people's judgment, because other people, if they're judging you, they're jealous of you. People don't judge out of the goodness of their heart. They judge out of jealousy. Judging is a way of actually manipulating somebody, of hurting someone. In fact, you find this with Obama, with other kind of radical, quote unquote, liberals. They're not liberals, they're far from liberals, they're radicals. But what they do is, when they're in government, they create lots of rules. Rules and rules and rules and rules. Why? Because they contain the subconscious. He wrote a book, Dreams of My Father, because subconscious hatred against humanity, feelings of abandonment. And so the way that they take vengeance against the society that didn't help them when they really needed help is they do these little things, like Russia does it too. It's little annoying, pesky things. Like, I can't openly be cruel. That wouldn't look good for me. But I do things that are manipulative. You know, the other day I just had really in this office a lady, and she told me a horrific story about her father. He used to beat her all the time, sick person. And I could just tell that this was a person that was so messed up. You know, he was getting his, narcissistic, sadistic high from hurting his own child. And studies actually show that people that are pedophiles and they hurt their children or other children, they do it most when they are feeling miserable. And that's the way we are. So the point is, none of us are really different from each other. We all have the same basic makeup. We have a heart, we have that bowl, and it's a question of what you put into it. And that is the secret, my friends, of Judaism, of Jewish mysticism. Which Jewish mysticism is saying, listen, put in positive experiences. Study Torah, have a meaningful conversation with God, pray, do goodness and kindness, get wealthy, give charity, live a meaningful life. So this is my message to you, which is, first of all, evil is real, and we all have it. And it's important to acknowledge that, because if we don't acknowledge that, we think we're righteous, and we're very likely to do what is evil by condemning others. Condemning others is evil. Nobody that's kind walks around condemning other people. We condemn other people when we're angry, we're miserable, we're jealous, and yes, we want other people to suffer. But We don't acknowledge that I'm miserable, angry, and jealous. So what do? We find what's wrong, and everybody has something wrong with them, even me, believe it or not. We all have something that we can be criticized on, but we find that thing and we highlight it and we point it out because that is our goal, not our conscious goal, the goal inside the jealous part of the heart. So how do we overcome the jealousy? We overcome it through positivity, through love, through gratitude. And so the simple truth of life is, yes, there are things that hurt us. There are things that make us afraid. There are things that might have made you angry. But the antidote to that is not to go ruminate, not to go back into those things, but rather to go into, they actually have a whole field now called positive psychology. Believe it or not, geniuses, they figured out that ruminating is not good for you. Go into positive things. And in the end of the day, all those negative things, they were there to bring you to the positivity. It says the Jew is like the olive. The olive doesn't give out his light, his oil, until it's crushed. You know, when we're young and things are sweet, we may be sweet inside, but we're not effective. The goal of life, I came up with this line today, is not to be nice. She just came from America. She was just in her son's beautiful home, beautiful area. She was like, it was like Gan Eden. What'd you do? Nothing. The point is that when things are prosperous and good, it's very easy to get into this laziness. This is part of the tragedy. I mean, prosperity is a wonderful thing, but the tragedy of it is people get lazy. In fact, empires are given up because people are too lazy to fight for it anymore. Whereas when things are difficult, it focuses us. So the difficult things that we go through are not actually there to break us, they're there to make us. They're there to take that inner light that we have, which we weren't effective in shining, and to get us to shine our light. And yes, at times, to get us to destroy evil. We look at the Arab terrorists, we look at, various evils in this world. There's a time to wipe out evil to protect the innocent. But if you're only soft in life, then you let the evil grow and grow and grow. In fact, it says, if you're compassionate towards evil, you are evil towards the compassion. In fact, you may even become evil towards the compassion, because why are you compassionate towards the evil? Not because you don't recognize it, because you're too weak, too soft to fight it. And if you're too soft to fight it, it's not too soft to fight you. So you acquiesce. As Churchill says, an appeaser is one who feeds a crocodile hoping it will eat it last. Appeasement, as people try to do with Iran, as people try to do with Germany, it never works. It makes the evil grow until it can really destroy. And so our job in this world is, first of all, to be focused on the goodness and the kindness, but that's an active mission. This world is no end to the goodness and kindness that we can do. I was thinking about this also on the way. This world is such an amazing place because the joy of life is to be able to give to others. And there are always others around. And if you're alone, just do what I'm doing. Make a video of something meaningful. The world is waiting for your love. So many people are waiting for hugs, waiting for goodness, waiting for kindness. You don't need to be saved. You need to save. You don't need to be loved. You need to love. And that's the secret. It's positive action that we are here to do. So take a resolution, because that's the strongest thing you can do, that you will be a force of light. You will be a force of love. You will be a force of compassion. And you will also be, if necessary, a force of strength to protect the innocent. This is who you will be. Good luck.